is fair to say things won't go back to truly normal until we have a vaccine that we've gotten out to basically the entire world.
We should be and are and will be making a universal corona vaccine. To me, that's the best long-term goal.
Yeah, it's like Night of the Living Beast says, you know the case. Got people walking around with masks on their face. Do everything you're told by Dr. Bill Gates. Take the vaccine, do with enzyme luciferase, and manipulate and twist the feelings and thoughts, making us believe every single thing they taught or tell us. We're hypnotized by TV, media covers our eyes so that we can't see. Certificate of vaccination, ID 2020, you're the mark of the beast. They keep telling us that that's when this thing will increase. Fake numbers pulled out of the air, to say the least. It's a setup, tear it all down, then rebuild. They don't care how many people that they might kill. On the way to the goal to complete their mission, put us under one man, a sin, son of perdition. We got snakes in the grass, rally through the high pass. Traps all laid out, avoid the bomb blast. Some say that the words that I speak are too crass. Watch yourself or get led down a path. A broke glass, the sick and disease world is giving me a rash. Evil deep in the hearts of men. The love of cash got people in power, robbing us without a mask. The fake holy father and the satanic mask. Corrupt politicians, money hungry leechers, ravenous wolves dressed as pulpit preachers. Bad songs pumping out your headphone speakers. Already weak and you're only getting weaker. Young minds indoctrinated by teachers, while humans are less valued than wild creatures. We speak the truth, but it's so hard to reach her. Powerful words will make meek mills meeker. Things in the grass, but the longer fashion, and our freedoms have gone away. Then I use guns to attack, but behind the back manipulation is the play. Media spreads on the fear, and that's all we hear. Put the mind like a ball of clear. None of us chose to react, but the sick relapse, and that was slaves to dumb today. Every day a new law's passed because this outbreak, no mistake, as they take our freedoms away. We getting raped, they're shutting down each and every state. By the time you notice it, it's way too late. We share the wrong fate, ignorance is bliss. Showed us everything and laughing at the clues we missed. You getting pissed? I doubt it cause you're still asleep. Intrude in every part of our lives is so deep. No shootings involved, no bombs and no planes. Just a little bit of words to make you all insane. Coming to yourself, got you locking up your doors. National Guard is coming to help fight the war. It's a shame you're so blind and can't see truth. Nobody told us anything, it's your excuse. Invisible combat because they can't see it. But you are the enemy, you better believe it. The things in the grass, but the longer fashion, and our freedoms have gone away. Did not use guns to attack, but behind the back manipulation is the play. Media spreads on the fear, and that's all we hear. Put the mind like a ball of clear. None of us chose to react, but the sick relax, and that was slaves to them today. We got the things in the grass, but the longer fashion, and our freedoms have gone away. Did not use guns to attack, but behind the back manipulation is the play. Media spreads on the fear, and that's all we hear. Put the mind like a ball of clear. None of us chose to react, but the sick relax, and that was slaves to them today. I got you right where I want you, like a raw line in the field. I stalked you, creeped up on you, peeped on your aura, laying in away, ready to pounce on ya. Once I get ya, you'll be a corner. Pumping on the string, you're my best performer. Got your mind in and out your corner. Forget a pot of slow heated water. Got you believing you think for yourself, but you do what I want you to. You do for me. Keep you distracted, manipulate lectures, and making you be who I want you to be. Lost and deceived, got you worshiping me. Blindfolded tightly so that you cannot see. Can't let you think for yourself, trusting everyone else that in me. Don't wake up from your dream. Don't want you to know a thing. I hope you think I don't exist. Pray to Buddha, Allah, ISIS, or just be an atheist. I'll be your best friend and I will grant you each and every wish. Give you money, fame, and riches if you sign in blood on this. Cursing up a storm, I love your filthy tongue. Chasing drugs, my mind control has just begun. Getting drunk, everything is cool, you're having fun. Going to hell with me when both of us are done. I got ya, listen to my musical artist. They are my preachers, you are the target. Stuck in their brain cells, already started. Mojo, so you can go rock retarded. Shoot up the club scene, ghost notice annex. Got me a whole army of drug addicts. Got enough drug dealers, don't panic. Yes, the government is on my payroll, handle it. Preachers and teachers, my network is deep and you make it so easy cause you stay a sheep. Praying the stronger, devour the weak. Show you my plans, yeah, it's really unique. Make you believe that I look like a creep. I'm the angel of light on your chest when you sleep. I'm not for real at all, why me you seek? Controlling y'all every day of the week. Don't want you to know a thing. I hope you think I don't exist. Pray to Buddha, Allah, ISIS, or just be an atheist. I'll be your best friend and I will grant you each and every wish. Give you money, fame, and riches if you sign in blood on this. Cursing up a storm, I love your filthy tongue. Chasing drugs, my mind control has just begun. Getting drunk, everything is cool, you're having fun. Going to hell with me when both of us are done. Cursing up a storm, I love your filthy tongue. Chasing drugs, my mind control has just begun. Getting drunk, everything is cool, you're having fun. Going to hell with me when both of us are done.
All right, welcome everybody. It is Sunday night. We normally go live on Saturdays, but yesterday was a big birthday party day. I know what you guys are going to say about birthdays. Don't need to tell me. But it was my daughter's 10th birthday. And you know, when you're 10, those days still matter to you, and we don't have to put them in a plastic bubble, unable to enjoy some of their life. So that's what we were busy with all day. But we get to go live today. Real quick announcement, if you don't mind, NPC. I want to tell everybody I put up a short 1.5 minute teaser trailer for an upcoming production that I am making based on the final Mark third strand DNA, and I have some really good, I think, glory to the Lord, glory to the Most High, information on why that we don't need to be worried about parasites and Hydra and ivermectin and things like that, that people are missing the mark, so to speak, when it comes to those distractions. And I'm just going to summarize some more research that I've done in the past, a little bit of new research with that video. Please check it out. It's only a 1.5-minute teaser trailer, but this script has been written. I just need to make a few more changes and it will be done. And then other than that, the music you heard in the beginning is Ninja Squirrel, aka Sean Walden. It will be here tomorrow in Montana with his son, also called Sean Walden, and they're going to spend the week with me. So we're going to do some live stuff in person together. So you're going to want to see those videos, probably the Tuesday, Thursday normal thing, and then I think we're doing something on his channel on Friday. But other than that, NPC, take it away, sir.
No. Well, all right. Let me go. Let me see. Share the screen. There's a button. Okay, so I got the button back. That's nice. All right, one moment here. That should be the window right there. Oops, I forgot to do the sound. I gotta redo that, I guess. Okay, hold on a second. All right. That should share computer sound. There we go. All right, sorry for the delay.
By the way, you changed your name. I'm like, who is this 33 the Branch 01 who I've made a mod? It's you.
Oh, yeah. I just changed my name from NPC on this one. I had 2 accounts with name the same. All right. So I found a link on La Palma. That's what I was looking for. Just give me a second there, and we'll be back. Okay.
Oh, I will mention,
All right.
Go ahead and hit the like if you haven't, because people do forget, and I understand that. If you don't like it, that's fine. You can hit the dislike. I don't care. But you can share it with your enemies if you don't like this episode. Other than that, please hit the like and share if you think it's worth sharing. But we're going to go over this Travis Scott stuff and some other things. So, yeah, stay tuned.
Okay, so this Chabad link here is what you're seeing on the screen. We just had I think the moon's at full now. So let me see if that's so. Well, yeah. So the moon. The moon phase isn't listed there, but I think we're in a new moon, so this should be in a new month. So we got Kislev 35782. I'll share the night sky in a minute. All right, so without further ado, I'm gonna start with this one here because it's got a link here. After overcoming the Greek forces, remember that's during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, when the temple was destroyed, the abomination and desolation took place, etc. Something we're even told to watch out for now. So after overcoming the Greek forces, the Hasmoneans cleared the temple from the idolatrous images that had been erected there. So, they came in and set up idols in the temple, and they were sacrificing pigs and humans and all sorts of unclean things in the temple, putting images and idols in there. And then, of course, it's saying that after overcoming them, they then cleared the temple of all that. And this is where the Purim story gets that, the myth of the oil, where they found a flask of oil and managed to keep the lamps lit for 8 days. But mind you, the lampstand that they created in that case was made of iron, not gold, because all of the gold and silver had been stripped out of the temple whenever it got conquered. So we have an anniversary of sorts right here. So we're between the time of tabernacles, the first time of tabernacles being Sukkot, and Hanukkah. So, when Christ is making a mention of pray that your departure not be in the winter or on the Sabbath, these are the types of things that come into my mind, are the things that occurred around the time of the Maccabean revolt, which took place over the course of several years, naturally. But anyway, let me skip to this. Okay, so the Hasmonean dynasty. Shimon, the last surviving son of Mattisyahu, became the leader of the Jewish people in 3622. He was the forerunner of the Hasmonean royal dynasty, which lasted 103 years until Herod wiped it out. The early Hasmonean rulers were righteous people who were careful not to assume the title of monarch. However, it is an old adage that power corrupts, and eventually the Hasmoneans usurped the throne, disregarding the tradition that only a descendant of King David may be called king. That's very interesting. Indeed, the Rambam, of somebody they all tend to look up to, writes that God destroyed the family in retribution for that act. In addition, the enormous power and wealth generated by their position caused the Hasmoneans to identify increasingly with the Sadducees, many of whom were also rich and powerful. As a result, the Hasmoneans began persecuting and even murdering Torah-observant Jews. So again, this type of persecution is occurring, thereby earning the Jewish people's enmity. Finally, the worst of all, the Hasmoneans fought wars for self-aggrandizement, ruthlessly crushing anyone even suspected of not supporting their rule. So this is very indicative of the left-hand path, making a name for themselves, going against Torah, even against the King David line, so basically acting out as the dragon, in a sense. I'm going to cut time short this evening, so I won't read about all these figures that are associated with it. But again, as the year goes on, these scripture Torah portions are to relate to the time of year, so we can glean some interesting parallels at times by going in that order. And as such, Genesis chapter 28 rather, is one of the Torah portions for this evening. Okay, so I won't read the commentary to save time, but we'll read these pieces here. It starts with verse 10. And Jacob left Beersheba and went to Haran. And he arrived at the place and lodged there because the sun had set. And he took some of the stones of the place, some of the stones of the place, and placed them at his head, and he lay down in that place. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up the ground, and its top reached to heaven, and behold, angels of God were ascending and descending upon it. I was just mentioning this stairway to heaven to somebody, I think today. The Tower of Babel was kind of meant to mimic that, I think. And behold, verse 13, and behold, the Lord was standing over him, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father, and God of Isaac. The land upon which you are lying, to you I will give it, and your seed. So this is an inheritance. He's declaring here. And what's interesting here is even to Moses, it was just a burning bush, right? And in other cases, just a voice or an angel far off. But here he's standing over him. It's very up close and personal. Verse 14, and your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall gain strength westward and eastward and northward and southward. And though you shall be blessed, all of the families of the earth, and through you, rather, shall be blessed all of the families of the earth, and through your seed. So in this way, his seed is kind of being likened into yeast and how it affects bread. It'll spread throughout because it's going to go every cardinal direction, but also be a blessing to all the peoples. The diaspora, for instance, occurred, and they got spread in that manner as well. Verse 15, and behold, I am with you, and I will guard you wherever you go, and I will restore you to this land, for I will not forsake you until I have done what I have spoken concerning you. And Jacob awakened from his sleep, and he said, indeed, the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. Remember, his name means hill catcher, because he was not firstborn. This is before his name's changed to Israel, where he wrestles the angel, and that place is named Peniel then. So he encounters God twice, technically, if you consider that angel an encounter with God as well, because he says he sees the face of God. Verse 17, and he was frightened, and he said, how awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven, where the ladder was. He considered that the gate. So we're talking about gates again this evening, but this is a different kind of gate, obviously. Verse 18, and Jacob arose early in the morning, and he took the stone that he had placed at his head, and he set it up as a monument, and he poured oil on top of it. So the anointing of the stone, again, this is a kind of a foreshadowing of Peniel. And he named the place Beth El. Beth is house, and El refers to the Lord or God. So the house of the Lord. And he named the place Beth El, but Luz was originally the name of the city. So he changes the name here. I don't know what Luz means, but often we see names getting changed in the Bible, and this would be one instance where it's happening with a city. And also this stone with oil, we're given a stone with our name written on it, I think in Revelation, a white stone. Kind of reminds me of this, reading that. Verse 20, and Jacob uttered a vow, saying, if God will be with me, and he will guard me on this way upon which I am going, and he will give me bread to eat and a garment to wear. So we're told we'll be given a white raiment, right? And then that the Lord's word is our bread. Verse 21, and if I return in peace to my father's house, and the Lord will be my God. And then finally, verse 22 for this portion. We're again referring to the stone. Then this stone, which I have placed as a monument, shall be a house of God, and everything that you give me, I will surely tithe to you. So he's saying he'll give us all, first fruits, if you will. But again, this mention of the stone. So Christ is the chief cornerstone, but here we see, again, this reference to stone, building his house on stone and not sand. All right, so that was that Torah portion. I'm pretty sure I shared that. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. These are Psalms daily to Tehillim praises. So let's get that one shared. Okie dokie. Chapter 18. If one merits a public miracle, he should offer a song to God, including in his song all of the miracles that have occurred since the day the world was created, as well as the good that God wrought for Israel at the giving of the Torah. And he should say, he who has performed these miracles, may he do with me likewise. And that's interesting, because when we say a prayer, we could cite instances in the Bible where prayers were answered, or an example was given. And if our will is in line with God's word, there's a highly likely chance it could be rewarded as such, because there's a precedent for it. But if it's our words, our own desires, those types of things may not necessarily be in line with God's word, so it may not work out that way. And so I think that's one thing to consider is, I know it didn't say that verbatim, but that would be my interpretation of it. May he do likewise with me. In other words, may we share in Hashem and have our names added to the book of names. Okay, so chapter 18, verse 1. For the conductor, by the servant of the Lord, by David, who chanted the words of this song to the Lord on the day the Lord delivered him from the hand of all of his enemies and from the hand of Saul. So again, David had to flee into the wilderness at one point to get away from Saul, who was like a giant. He was much larger than most of the other men. They wanted kings and giants like the other nations. And so that's one of the reasons Saul was selected, even though he was a flawed type of person. So we got the giant type figure pursuing David, right? Verse 2, he said, I love you, Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock. Again, this rock. My fortress and my rescuer. My God is my strength, in whom I take shelter. My shield, the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. Remember the name for Jesus in Greek, Yeshua in Hebrew. That name means salvation. My stronghold. Verse 4, with praises I call upon the Lord, and I am saved from mine enemies. For the pangs of death surround me, and torrents of evil people terrified me. Pangs of the grave encompassed me, snares of death confronted me. In my distress I called upon the Lord, I cried out to my God, and from his sanctuary he heard my voice, and my supplication before him reached his ears. Again, these are examples we can cite in the past, when others have prayed and cried out to him. We can use those examples when praying. Verse 8, the earth trembled and quaked, the foundations of the mountains shook. They trembled when his wrath flared. Smoke rose in his nostrils, devouring fire blazed from his mouth, and burning coals flamed forth from him. He inclined the heavens and descended. A thick cloud was beneath his feet. He rode on a cherub and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. He made darkness his concealment, his surroundings, his shelter of the dense clouds with their dark waters. This is quite a thing to behold, I would imagine. Out of the brightness before him, his clouds passed over with hailstones and fiery coals. Hailstones and fiery coals. What a dichotomy here. The Lord thundered in heaven. The Most High gave forth his voice, hailstones and fiery coals. Gave forth his voice, hailstones and fiery coals. Now we see in Revelation that the angels are dumping the coals out of the bowls, and the offering, the altar itself's being basically tipped over, and so everything that's on it is kind of getting thrown down onto the earth. So this could be similar to that, like when these judgments are occurring. Voice hailstones talks about talents raining down on the people, and then even while this is happening, there's still going to be people that curse God, right? Likely these folks that are possessed. He sent forth his arrows and scattered them, many lightnings, and confounded them. The channels of water became visible. The foundations of the world were exposed at your rebuke, O Lord, at the blast of the breath of your nostrils. He sent from heaven and took me. He brought me out of surging waters. He rescued me from my fierce enemy and from my foes when they had become too strong for me. They confronted me on the day of my misfortune, but the Lord was my support. He brought me into spaciousness. He delivered me because he desires me. The Lord rewarded me in accordance with my righteousness. He repaid me according to the cleanliness of mine hands. For I have kept the ways of the Lord, and have not transgressed against my God. For all his laws are before me. I have not removed his statutes from me. Remember in Deuteronomy, it talks about binding them to your hand and between your eyes for all generations. And it's a blessing to teach these to your children because they'll grow up with the good fruit in their head, in their temple. Verse 24, I was perfect with him and have guarded myself from sin. The Lord repaid me in accordance with my righteousness, according to the cleanliness of my hands before his eyes. With the kind-hearted, you act kindly. With the upright man, you act uprightly. With the pure, you act purely. But with the crooked, you act cunningly. For the destitute nation you save, but haughty eyes you humble. Indeed, you light my lamp. The Lord my God illuminates my darkness. For with you I run against a troop, and my God I scale a wall. And with God, rather, I scale a wall. There's mentionings of that kind of thing with the lion-headed, the men of Moab and such. God's army is kind of likened to this. The way of God is perfect. The word of the Lord is pure. He is a shield to all who take refuge in him. For who is God except the Lord, and who is a rock except our God? Again, the rock. The God who girds me with strength and makes my path perfect. Yahweh, path. He makes my feet like deer's and stands me firmly on my high places. He trains my hands for battle, my arms to bend a bow of bronze. You have given me the shield of your deliverance. Your right hand upheld me. Your humility made me great. Verse 37. You have widened my steps beneath me, and my knees have not faltered. I pursued my enemies and overtook them. I did not turn back until I destroyed them. I crushed them so that when they were unable to rise, they are fallen beneath my feet. Remember, we're talking about, this is David, if you're wondering. You have girded me with strength for battle. You have subdued my adversaries beneath me. You have made my enemies turn their backs to me, and my foes I cut down. They cried out, but there was none to deliver them. To the Lord he did not answer them. I ground them as dust before the wind. I poured them out like mud in the streets. You have rescued me from quarrelsome ones of the people. You have made me the head of nations. A nation I did not know became subservient to me. As soon as they hear of me, they obey me. Strangers deny to me their disloyalty, rather. Strangers wither away. They are terrified in the strongholds. The Lord lives. Blessed is my rock, exalted in the God of my deliverance. You are the God who executes retribution for me and subjugates nations under me, who rescues me from my enemies, who exalts me above my adversaries, who delivers me from the man of violence. Therefore I will laud you, Lord, among the nations, and sing your name. He grants his king great salvations and bestows kindness upon his anointed. This is the name for Christ, his anointed. Remember the oil on the rock as well. To David and his descendants forever. So good to Helen. There's a few more. But again, for time's sake, I'll have to cut it short. And I shared this one already, correct? Okay.
I think so. I had to step away for just a moment, but I'm back.
Well, just in case I didn't, I'll go ahead and
Yeah, let's do it again. It makes the chat look like it's more interactive when it isn't. So feel free to just
it going on
continue.
a lot, but I'm usually busy, so forgive me if I don't
Well,
answer
I mean,
a question.
if you drop something in the chat, tells the analytics that the chat is busy. So go ahead and drop it as many times as you want.
Okay, well, here's the night sky that I was trying to reference earlier. Maybe the moon phase is still listed here somewhere. Well, yeah, here we go, a moon phase chart. Just wanted to see if my work phone chirped. Let me just make sure it's nothing crazy. Okay.
Emily says, I can talk more in the chat if that helps. I don't know if it helps or not. It's just fun watching the analytics. I think it does, because when you watch the analytics, it shows how active your chat was and how often people were chatting. So it's kind of fun to see when it's busy and active. But, I mean, there's no need. If you don't feel like you have anything to say or don't want anything to say, certainly don't feel pressured by me, everybody.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely not a full moon. What I meant to say was it was a new moon, and we just had the new month start because of the crescent. So I'm glad I brought this up, because I totally misspoke and said full moon. So, yeah, the months are determined by the new moons getting the two horns. So you got your two witnesses here, each end of the moon there, and you have two people blow a horn to say that they've seen it. So I think this occurred maybe yesterday, actually. So it's probably a little more now than it was when they first blew the horns. But that's how each new month is signified. So you got your two witnesses there. But we also got two witnesses in Revelation, of course. But that's for the day of the Lord and a wedding. So anyway, I just wanted to share the moon thing there. And that's just my work phone. It shouldn't chirp again. It just does it as a reminder because I didn't check the message. Okay, and yeah, I dropped both of. Oh wait. Oh, I only did one of those. Okay, so here's the night sky. And if I did the same one twice, I'm sorry. Okay, so here's what the night sky looks like right now over Jerusalem. So I like to share. Oh wait, maybe it's not over Jerusalem. Yeah, it is. Okay. So this is what it looks like right now over them. And, you know, I haven't gleaned anything from it yet. So if you want to take time to look at it, Lacerda is a lizard. Pegasus is a winged horse. Cygnus is a swan. Aquarius is a young man pouring a vessel of water, which the main star for this constellation is in the heel, just like Chabad is the heel catcher, for instance. It's an interesting corollary there. And this is, I think that's Draco, maybe, right here. So anyway, let's move on to the earthquakes. And I got a link on La Palma right there. Okay, so here's the earthquake link. And so we've had some 5.5s today, and a 2.7 is a more recent quake 35 minutes ago. And then, of course, this map down here will show you where they're taking place. And a lot of times you can see correlations with this and the sun. So I don't bring it up, but I guess that's something else I could start sharing is the solar flare stuff. But as you can see here, this map's pretty detailed. This is the volcano that's kind of in the news right now, so I wanted to touch on that. So La Palma Island braces for more quakes as volcano roars on. Residents on Spain's La Palma Island are bracing for the possibility of bigger earthquakes more than 5 weeks after a volcano erupted. So this puppy's been going for quite some time now. Of course, I find it interesting that this is happening during the gates of hell, even though that's in Rome. It's just, you know, kind of fits. So residents on Spain's La Palma Island Wow, that's just a repeat of the same thing. And so they're bracing for bigger earthquakes that could compound the damage from a volcano spilling lava more than 5 weeks since it erupted. That's a long time. Seismologists said that 4.6 magnitude earthquake shook the island a day after they recorded a 4.9 magnitude quake. It was the strongest so far of the hundreds that have occurred under La Palma since the volcano's September 19th eruption. So that was a little bit before the Gates of Hell. I think the Gates of Hell started sometime in October. They're due to stay there until January 9th. Again, that's a large piece of artwork that was normally not known to the public, or allowed to be seen rather, and then now it's on display in Rome. Okay, so far the earthquakes have either been small enough or far enough under La Palma not to do no harm, rather, other than adding to the anxiety of island residents. The Tuesday earthquake was felt up to 60 miles away on 3 other segments of the Canary Islands, an archipelago. That word always gets me. Archipelago.
Archipelago.
Archipelago. Why can I never say that word? Okay. Archipelago off Northwest Africa. So there's a little bit on the earthquakes and volcanoes going on there. I just wanted to touch on that. We're trying to keep the show short. What are we doing on time right now?
Oh, we're 40 minutes
Almost
in. We
been
can
an hour.
Yeah, we can go easily another hour and 20 minutes.
Well, still. All right. So you guys are probably hearing a lot about shipping delays, cargo ships, truckers, the whole 9 yards in that regard. So I've been wanting to keep people in the loop by sharing this link here. And so basically you can, this is the coast that most people are paying attention to right now, although it looks like there's tons of traffic over here. Anyhow, if it interests you to keep watch of the ships, it's something to look for. It doesn't look like there's nearly as many as there have been. In fact, let's take a look over at Florida, because DeSantis, the governor over there, he started rerouting some of the ships to come over here to Florida ports. So, I'm not sure which coast it was. But anyway, looks pretty active and healthy over here. But anyway, keep in mind, Black Horse economy vibes, the kind of stuff that they got going on here where they're choking off the economy and such, kind of does give the vibe of some type of economic collapse, because they really want to get this Green New Deal junk passed, and they finally got it through the House. I think, was it yesterday or Friday evening maybe. Remember, their goal for that was Halloween. So, again, the gates of hell are standing wide open while they're wanting to do this. And all anybody wants to talk about is the 1 point whatever trillion dollars they're wanting to spend, which, yes, that's very important. However, we got to also remember that the mandate was in this too. And that's what nobody's really talking about, except in the terms of economics. You don't hear any of the news really talking about the spiritual implications, except when they briefly mention something about a religious exemption or whatever, which my friends have been asking me about that. So I'm going to be writing one, and maybe I will have a template or something. So if anybody's interested in that, keep in touch with us. Maybe join the Discord or something to make that available to you. But I would caution you about going a religious exemption through a pastor of a denomination, if the pastor's not the one that you see when you go to church, because some of these pastors are caving in and saying, well, yeah, you can go ahead and do it. For instance, the Mormon or LDS church, that guy's saying there's no problem with it. So think of how many people that belong to the LDS stuff, for instance, they're void now, because that was maybe their what everything was predicated upon. So there's a lot of verses in the Bible that I feel are able to be used in this way to prove it without any denomination or pastor. And so that's kind of the goal there. But anyway, the thing is, they're using the economy as a bludgeoning tool. Like the Secretary of Commerce? That's what it is. It's the Pete Buttigieg guy. He was talking about how, the economy wasn't going to improve until everybody got vaccinated or whatever. So I think at some point they're going to use the economy, they're going to hold it hostage, so to speak, and say, well, it's because of these particular people that don't want to get, vaxxed. That's what's holding everything up. Of course, what quicker way to turn everybody on one group of people than that. And of course, we know the mark of the beast is economic based. So these things are going to kind of come together at some point in the future. But anyway, this is just kind of like a black horse update, I guess. We're already seeing inflation and oil prices increasing, so just something to keep an eye out on.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure, man.
When you mentioned the Mormons, evangelical pastors are also approving of this, as we know, with Greg Laurie and several others. But also, Mormons are very pro-transhumanism. They already believe they'll be gods. That's already in their belief, that they'll be a god of their own planet. So they believe in outer space and planets to begin with, but they also believe that they will be a god of their own planet. And I did drop a link just now of the Mormon Transhumanist Association. So I've heard... I had a Mormon one time come in and be like, we don't believe that. And I'm like, well, apparently there's a large group that does. So the link is there in the chat.
Well, that's the whole point of tracing back the fruit. At some point you're going to hit the base of that branch, or where's that fruit coming from, and you're going to see maybe transhumanists. Man, look at this is creepy, dude. Okay, so yeah, all right, that makes me very uncomfortable. I don't like that. So yeah, anybody going under that exemption, whether it's the vax or robotic eyes or whatever, like if they're not going to speak out against it, then that kind of voids your exemption. That's creepy. And look here, they got a wheel with wings on it. Do you see that?
Yeah.
I'm going to segue just for a minute, because that shows up over here in this other thing we're going to talk about, the Travis Scott portal stuff. He's got this, I think I got the picture over here. I'm sorry. Just give me a second here to find it. It's this one.
Yeah, I've covered this before, but it's been a while. I was just speaking to the chat real quick. I have covered this particular Mormon thing before. That's why I said I had a Mormon come and get upset with me. But it's probably been over a year or more. So nothing new under the sun there. But like I said, they already think they're going to be gods.
Yeah, and this is an angel, how they're depicted in the Bible with the eyes and the wheels. And we're going to be talking about this in a minute. They were basically doing some type of satanic ritual with a portal and stuff. But definitely an angel. Of course, we know some of them are fallen. But that's looks to be what they're depicting right there, is a angel. So, and of course, the stars, influence of the stars. This is the very definition of influenza. Okay, well, let me get back on track here. So, I read this scripture recently, and it brought to mind something I covered last week that I didn't necessarily expect to cover again. But after reading it, I thought, well, that's actually kind of relevant. So, anyway, let's read this. And no one is able to serve two masters, either for one he will hate and the other he will love, or the one he will be devoted to and the other he will despise. You are not able to serve God and money. But the word for this is mammon. And so I wanted to look at this real quick, because it was very close to this name here that we covered last week. And this person they had called Lord Hammon So it's very interesting how close that is. And then, of course, that relates to, yeah, here we go, Kairos. Bring that over here, get that situated. Okay, so, oh, yeah, I forgot to share. All right, so the word here from mammonos, riches, money, possessions, property. And it says mammonos is a Semitic term for the treasure a person trusts in. So like on our money, it says, in God we trust. Kind of ironic we put that on our money when this verse here says you can't serve both. Okay, and then transliterated as mammon. So again, you take the M off and put an H, you got Hammon, which is this dude. So I know we covered him last week, so I won't add.
Did we get to it? Because there was
board.
a few things that we didn't get to because we got cut off.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly where we got cut off. Well, I'll just briefly mention some things about him then. So they considered him a chief god, a weather god, etc., fertility, vegetation. We were talking about how kings would wed spirits to renew the land and such, just like the Irish high kings did. And so this is very, very similar to that. He's identified as a Phoenician deity under the name of Baal. And this is, of course, where Jezebel and her ilk come from as well. It's the same spirit. And remember, Elijah he basically took it upon himself to kill all the priests and such. It's very similar to what happened during the Maccabean revolt when they did the same. So it's a bit of a trend. And of course, he was chased into the wilderness after doing that, just like the Maccabeans were. However, the meaning of the second name is unclear. Hammon, the ergodic name for Mount Amanus. It's interesting. I didn't have time to get it, but there are several verses actually that discuss the wickedness in high places that it's mentioned in Ephesians. I think that might be a reference to these hills, because several times it talks about people doing wickedness and consulting with their quote gods or false idols on the hilltops and groves, which I think I got, the Sacred Grove link right here. So they would have groves of trees on top of these hills where they would basically wed these spirits. And of course, the most famous ones are associated with Diana, for instance, but this is a very ubiquitous type of trend. So whenever it talks about trees so often in the Bible and cutting them down and so on and so forth, how yew oaks and cedars, that kind of thing, and Isaiah, it might be really talking about stuff like this, where all these, quote, pagan folks are hanging out and wedding these spirits and eating things sacrificed to idols, etc. It's very interesting when you consider that. So anyway, let me get back on track here. So it's like a wedding of sorts, and let's see, this cult is explained here a little bit. They engage in child sacrifice to make vegetation grow, and in times of strife or crisis, they would do the same during certain holidays, etc. And let's skip on down here. The I can't pronounce that. He's identified with the Titan Kronos. So again, the eating of the children. There's a painting by Goya that depicts him doing that as well. Notice here he's holding a scythe. And actually I'm going to go ahead and share that link. Okay, so there good reason for sharing that too is remember Fauci's name means sickle in Italian.
Well, yeah, I wanted to tell you, you have been saying that for so long, and somebody just now on my Facebook, like just a day or two ago, posted that, and I'm like, oh, we've been knowing that. Like, we've been saying that forever.
At least they're in the Facebook arena with it. I heard somebody, Alex Jones, said that on Joe Rogan's podcast, and my jaw about dropped. So, yeah.
Was that when you first learned it, or did he say it after you?
No, we had been talking about it for months before that, but it's just good that, I mean, I don't know, maybe, I don't think we had anything to do with it, but maybe. It just makes you kind of wonder sometimes. So,
that's what I was thinking, because, well, anyway, I wasn't thinking that this person necessarily saw our show, but it was a good time to plug it and go, yeah, we've been saying this week after week for months. So, I mean, you have. I don't take the credit.
Well, the knowledge is already out there. You just got to tune in like a radio. So, his name means sickle or scythe, which, by the way, I wanted to share this. One of the iterations of Orion is him holding a scythe. So let me show you here where that's at. Hold on here. It's...
By the way, Emily mentions that painting was reimagined at the Travis Scott show that you're going to talk about here in a little bit.
The painting?
The Goya painting.
Christ in Limbo, I think, is the name of the painting.
Oh, not the Goya one eating the children?
That's that's a totally different artist. Well, it might be the same artist, but a totally different work. It's not part of the same one.
Oh, well, maybe she'll clarify which painting she means. I was thinking it was that one.
Rodin did the gates of hell, and that's Dante's Inferno. And then we had Goya, who does Saturn. And then there's the next one we'll cover in a minute. But anyway, the Orion character here, they call Orion's belt and the stars below it a scythe, another name for the asterism, and the stars are hanging from a belt as the sword. So aster means weapon, and of course star. So Astra, for instance, AstraZeneca, it just means weapon. So the stars are a lot of times associated with plague and weaponization, spiritual weapons. We don't really tend to think of it that way, but that's what they're associated with a lot of times. And in this particular case with Orion, he's associated with as wielding a scythe, much like you see Death always wielding a scythe. So, remember Fauci's name literally means that. So, and I had a nice meme for old Fauci too, since we're talking about him. Didn't know where it would fit in, but I got it on the other screen there. So if the computer will stop lagging, maybe I can show you. Here we go. Here's this one. So it says here, 40 years of Dr. Death, 1980. Sickle leads the National Institute of Health and begins to use PCR tests to get false positives. Is any of this, stop me if any of those languages censorship worthy?
Who knows?
1984, old Sickle Boy starts AIDS research with funding from Merck and other big pharma companies. 1985, Sickle Boy pushes deadly drug AZT for AIDS, experimental vax using PCR, false positives and phony studies. 1985, continuing, AZT kills hundreds of thousands and still impairs hundreds of thousands more with permanent debilitating cancers and other diseases. FDA finally discontinues its use. 2000, 2009, Sickle Boy pushes swine flu panic and uses PCR, false positives, and phony reports to get emergency use approval for unproven vax. 25 people are killed before alarms are raised, and FDA stops its sale and use for flu. Man, where's the FDA today? Oh, wait, they're full of these companies' employees. That's why we don't have them protecting us now. 2015, Sickle Boy funds University of North Carolina gain of function research on crown viruses. It's another word for virus is venom. Left hand punishments are to become from this. So like Orion's sword, for instance, venom from that is left hand judgment. 2017, Fauci funds crown virus research at Wuhan lab in China, sidestepping Trump. 2019, Fauci helps ban other meds like HCQ and ivermectin from being used to fight the charagma epidemic. 2020, Fauci pushes to get at least 28 vaxes and boosters approved through emergency use with the help of PCR, false positives, and phony death reports. 2021 rather, he gets his own fake shot. So that's contested, I'm sure. We don't know what was really in it, but probably not real. So that was just a meme I found. Just can't share it, sorry. And kind of got sidetracked there, but that was just a short verse I wanted to cover there. And Kairos kind of ties into that a little bit. So I want to say a few words about Kairos. I couldn't find the ritual. I didn't have enough time to get that together. But there is an old ritual that they would have to do with the charagma. And it was Kaiser Kairos, I think was what they had to say. They had to say a certain phrase to get their mark. And, it was the seal that they got that allowed them to participate in society. Now, again, the word used in Revelation 13, verse 16 through 18 is the word for it's mark. It's charagma. It's proof of the mark, charax. So I found it interesting when I was talking to somebody about, forging these vax cards or whatever, and how it's illegal. And it's like, well, actually what's illegal is reproducing the seal. And it dawned on me right there. I thought, oh, wow, the seal is actually the charagma. So again, it's the proof of having that mark is that seal. And so you're literally putting a seal of sorts on yourself when you do this. And so I don't know. I just really wanted to point that out because this is where the authority of the government is what this is about, and it's ancient. This is nothing new. Again, there's nothing new under the sun, as people say. Now, sure, they weren't having to, take a therapeutic to do this, but it was the same thing because they were basically marrying this god when they're doing that. Now, some iteration of it, of course, but very, very similar. Which is kind of where, again, we were talking about this character last time. The Gad version of Baal was associated with good luck as well. So it's in gambling and money and things like that nature. You kind of see where all these things kind of intersect. But anyway, Caesar Kairos, Kairos. So sorry, I can't remember the phrase. If anybody in the chat knows, I'd really appreciate it if you tell me. But anyway, this phrase they'd have to do to swear their allegiance to the government. And so this is another version of it here, as Kairos or Kyrios is a Greek word used to
translated as Lord or Master. Okay, so they're saying that Caesar was their master. Okay, that was the translation of it. Sorry. It is used in the Septuagint translation of Hebrew scriptures about 7,000 times, in particular translating the name God of the Tetragrammaton, rather. And it appears as the Koine Greek New Testament 740 times, usually referring to Jesus as Lord. So where we'd say Jesus is our Lord, instead they'd be basically saying this other God is their Lord. And so that's essentially what the charagma is, or will become. If it, it's maybe not there right now because they don't identify a God clearly, but I think that'll manifest soon. In classical Athens, the word kyros referred to the head of the household who was responsible for his wife, children, and any unmarried female relatives. It was the responsibility of Kyros to arrange the marriages of his female relatives, provide their dowries, represent them in court if necessary, and deal with any economic transactions that were involved in worth more than a medimos or of barley. I'm not sure what that word means. A measure of barley, probably, like it refers to in Revelation. When an Athenian woman married, her husband became her new kyros. The existence of the system of curio elsewhere in ancient Greece is debated, and the evidence is not clear-cut, but Carthage. It's not Carthage or cartilage, it's Carthage. Has argued that Sparta curioi existed, although in Corinth they do not appear to have done. The term kairos is still in use in modern Greek language and is equivalent to the English term mister, title conferred on an adult male. Master, someone who has control over someone or something, and sir, to address any male. So it's not necessarily an uncommon term, but it was one that was used to in this ritual that involved your participation in the society and an economic type of relationship. Sorry I didn't have time to get that one I was looking for, but this was the closest thing I could find before the show. Anyway, I'll try to have more information on it the next time. And as far as the marriage to these gods on high hills, this was something we covered last week, so I won't read it again. But yeah, the sacred groves at the top of the hills. So remember, there's 7 hills around Rome also, and of course they had caves under the hills and such as well. But those mystery religions, they were all doing things that God said not to do, and but like specifically would ask you not to do these things, but yet they were doing them. And so they were leading them into spiritual captivity, distancing them from God. But I'd like maybe next week to cover several of the verses where it talks about all these different types of groves up on top of the hills, because normally you would associate trees and things, living trees and such, as being a very good thing, and it is, I think. But you start to see where this stuff in the Bible really makes a lot more sense when you understand what they would do in these groves. A lot of sexual immorality and sacrifice and just all sorts of wild things. And let's see here. Now I'm scooting through this stuff pretty fast, but I just want to make sure that we have plenty of time to talk about this other thing.
We still have 50 minutes.
Okay, good. All right, so this is the Bill Gates news, the Baal Gates, rather. Okay, so now, if you guys recall how Event 201 unfolded, that was what, in 2000?
That was October 2019.
Yeah, he announced, so it was about 2 or 3 years at this point, yeah. And so he talked about it, and then it happened. All right, so here he is again. Baal Gates warns terrorists will try and use smallpox as a biological weapon as he bids for billions in funding to prevent future pandemics. Now remember, we talked about last week of Christ going to Caesarea Philippi, where, and I wondered, well, why did he go there? Well, that's where everybody was. They were all these pagan worshiping sites. These altars were all, where a lot of people went, and the social gatherings for folks. And he gave his sermon there and won a lot of these people back. But remember, that's the shrine for Pan was there too. All right, so let's continue here. Microsoft founder made the plea at the policy exchange talk yesterday. He called for a formation of the pandemic task force with billions in funding. Gates suggested developing germ games. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
That was really interesting how they play quote-unquote germ games to figure out how to handle the next deadly disease that's coming our way, allegedly.
That sounds like what Fauci was doing in the Wuhan lab, wasn't it? Germ games. Oh, yeah, and the definition they're trying to kick around now of how it's only gain of function when you got two viruses and what they do.
They changed the definition literally on, I think, NIH website of what gain of function actually means.
Yeah, it doesn't count when you just get a new mysterious one, right? That's how novel occurs, right? Because it's new. Reminds me also of Cyber Polygon, the I can't remember what they called it. Cyber pandemic. Yeah. So Cyber Polygon was also kind of going on at this time. It came days after he attended the COP26 climate conference in Glasgow. Well, I remember one of the other times he was talking at one of those climate conferences, and he talked about how population needed to be reduced. So it looks like he's just following his plan. Bill Gates has called on governments to give billions in research and development funding to prevent future pandemics and, quote, bioterrorism. The billionaire founder of Microsoft warned that world leaders must prepare for disasters like smallpox, terror attacks, whatever the cost, and called for the formation of a new billion-dollar World Health Organization pandemic task force. He gave the warning and bid for funds during a policy exchange think tank interview with chair of Health Select Committee and former UK Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt yesterday. While the research may be extensive, he said that it could also lead to other innovations such as eradicating flu and common cold. He
That's
said that countries like
I just want to, sorry to interrupt you, but to eradicate the common cold all of a sudden after all these years, he's going to be able to do that? Why? Because it's a crown virus?
They've probably been creating that crap for years anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've been creating the viruses.
Oh my gosh. Okay, some of these pictures are graphics. Sorry. So anyway, I think I've had enough of him anyway. So this buffoon is at it again. I did share that one. All right. So keep your eyes trained on that moron, and who knows. Hopefully we don't see any outbreaks of that, but it wouldn't surprise me at this point. Notice also how in this 2 quick years, the World Health Organization's basically got a stranglehold on a lot of governments. They also got this green agenda thing that they were trying to push through on top of it. And really, the infrastructure bill, aside from the fact that they included the vax mandate in it, that makes it bad enough. But they're also laying the groundwork for Build Back Better. So, it's really disturbing. I guess since I'm mentioning the infrastructure bill, I'll share this picture of Joe Manchin. This is the senator from West Virginia. Sorry, Joe. No, it's not a great photo of you. But anyway, they were calling it the eye of the storm. So, more talk about the storm, and kind of gives me those dark winter vibes. But anyway, something else that's in the news is that Ashely Biden's diary, they say, was allegedly stolen. The Project Veritas agents or something to that effect, when in fact they handed it over to the FBI. And now that there's an investigation going on, it seems to validate the claims that. So I'll just kind of read this and let it do the talking. Ashley Biden's diary, which was published shortly after, or excuse me, before the 2020 election by a conservative news site that highlighted a claim against her father, is the subject of a criminal probe launched by the FBI, which is investigating locations connected with Project Veritas, the conservative group that conducts stings on public figures in politics and in the media. According to NBC, an FBI spokesperson confirmed that the agency is investigating the possible theft of a diary belonging to President Joe Biden's daughter, Ashely Biden. I thought that it was Hunter's.
Which is interesting because have you ever heard of this girl before? Because I haven't.
Is it the one he kisses on stage all the time?
Oh, maybe. No, that was a granddaughter.
That's what I thought. Anyway, unverified pages of the alleged diary first emerged on a website called National File. You can read that original report here. So let's just go ahead and drop that for you guys. It was mostly ignored when it was first published on October 26, 2020, right before the 2020 presidential election. That's around the same time they were talking about Hunter's laptop. Project Veritas. I mean, how did this guy get elected? You know what I mean? Like, come on, seriously. The most in history. And look at this. Project Veritas did not publish the diary. The group's founder said it in an email to followers that it could not verify the diary was real at the time. However, conservative commentators have seized on the FBI investigation as proof the diary was Biden's. It contains an allegation that she was concerned she was molested, and although the page does not specify by whom, she does, however, mentions showers with her dad that were probably not appropriate. I mean, you know, come on. So I guess this is her. So it's an older woman, not a younger one, perhaps. But still, that's disturbing. Anyway, this is an unsavory topic, so I didn't want to dwell on it for too long. But, you know, this is the kind of thing, you know, their fruits are rotten, man. And it's like, I guess they got to double and triple and quadruple down because they're so deep in it. They got a lot to lose, you know. And this guy can't even string a sentence together, you know. But so I'd say he'll end up being the scapegoat for a lot of things. I'd say part of their plan is probably to either put well, if Kamala becomes president, does that put Nancy Pelosi in for vice president?
Yeah, sure does.
You know, she doesn't want to retire until that possibility's exhausted.
And then the guy after that, I can't remember his name, but he's over 80 years of age and a total nightmare too. So it's just, I know I see some Q people or something thinking that somebody else that was Republican was in succession, but not anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, the next crazy thing I'd like to discuss is this insane concert that occurred. So I don't know who this dude is. It's the first time I've ever heard of him. But this Travis Scott guy is apparently wed to one of those Kardashians. Did you say it was Kylie?
Kylie Jenner, but yeah, still the Kardashian family.
And just so I can get this link off the screen, she's covered in blood. I don't know if it's real or fake. But anyway, if you want to look at that, she's not, like, it's not showing anything, but she is nude. And, but anyway, that's
a really disturbing, it's just a video of her being the blood poured over her. It's unbelievably disturbing to me somehow, even though I've seen so much.
Well, I'm sure that's part of some ritual, because with this guy being her husband, and after seeing what's went on here, I'm pretty convinced something's going on here. So this guy named Travis Scott hit his first Astroworld lawsuit. So he has been sued over what's occurred now. So it says here they consciously ignored the extreme risks of harm to concert goers, and in some cases actively encouraged and fomented dangerous behaviors, lawyers for one attendee claimed. Lawyers for an Astroworld Fest attendee filed a lawsuit against Travis Scott and his festival's organizers Saturday, the first in what will likely be many legal actions against the rapper following the death of 8 people and hundreds more injured at this Houston Music Fest. There's another article talking about the deaths. That's actually what I wanted to focus on. Him so much, but not his lawsuit, rather, but the... Okay, I'll just bring that up in the background. The lawsuit filed at Harris County District Court on behalf of injured festival goer Manuel Souza also names Live Nation. They sell tickets and stuff. Co-organizers Scoremore and Scott's Cactus Jack Records as defendants. Billboard first reported about the lawsuit. Defendants failed to properly plan and conduct the concert in a safe manner. Souza's attorney, Steve K. of the firm K. Garcia LLP, wrote in the petition, instead they consciously ignored the extreme risks of harm to concert goers and in some cases actively encouraged and fomented dangerous behaviors. For instance, he was crowd surfing at one point and some guy tried to take off his shoe, or did, so he encouraged everybody to beat him up. I did see that.
Encouraged people to beat up someone who took off their shoe?
He was crowd surfing, and I guess one of the dudes took a shoe off, so he started encouraging him to beat him up and stuff. This is the story I was actually wanting to read, but this was just the newest thing I'd seen. So, and I got some pictures to kind of show here too. At least 8 people were killed and hundreds more injured Friday night following a crowd surge during Travis Scott's set at the rapper's Astroworld Festival in Houston. More than 300 people were treated for injuries following the incident. And during Saturday morning press conference with 23 people taken to area hospitals, 11 in critical condition, including a 10-year-old boy. What was a 10-year-old boy even doing at this concert?
That's disturbing.
Yeah. While the officials didn't announce the victims of the tragedy at a Saturday afternoon press conference, they revealed that the ages of those who had died. 14-year-old boy. I'd seen a post where he markets himself to young children. Like, I guess he did some type of Fortnite McDonald's promotion even.
Him and that wacky trans gay rapper, Lil Nas, who also...
Oh, yeah?
Who also tries to have a reach with children, because he did some story time thing, and then he also went to a school and rapped at the school for a bunch of little kids who were screaming for this guy. They all knew who he was, and they knew the lyrics to his ridiculous music. Oh, it just fills me with disgust.
This guy released a shoe rather, just like that guy did. They're gold Nikes called Saturns or something like that. So maybe they were doing some type of rituals to enhance their brand, emphasis on brand. 14, 16, 21, 21, 23, 23, 27, and one of unknown age. 6 of the 8 victims' families had been notified at the time of the press conference. The incident occurred around 9 p.m. during Scott's set, with the crowd compressing toward the stage and causing total chaos. The crowd, for whatever reason, began to push and surge toward the front of the stage, which caused people in the front to be compressed. They were unable to escape the situation. Well, they didn't do enough research, because just in a day on Instagram, I was able to figure out that there was a guy going around stabbing people with like a syringe or something and injecting people with drugs. Nobody knew what it was, and it caused panic, and that's what caused the surge. Was people were trying to get away from this nutcase that was just injecting people with drugs, and people were just starting to fall over and die and stuff, and it caused a stampede. So the people that died might have just been people that got injected, for all intents and purposes. That might have been the cause. But and a security guard at the event also said he got pricked in the neck. So it wasn't just people high or whatever claiming stuff was going on. Like, even a security guard said this same thing. So there must have been somebody there either acting on their own or quite possibly a plant. Who knows? Like what the way some of the pictures I'm going to show you in a second suggest maybe it was part of it. But anyway,
I'd put my money on him being a plant for sure. Why would I mean you know that these what they call lone wolf things, they're never that. A guy didn't take a bunch of weapons up to a hotel room without being seen by multiple cameras and then remove the glass. That didn't happen. He wasn't a lone wolf acting on his own. None of these things ever are. They're always Monarch, Mind Control, or MK Ultra sleepers that are activated. And you can look at Sirhan when he talks about how when he saw a woman in a polka dot dress and that triggered him, and then he didn't remember anything after that. And he was the one that murdered, I think, Robert Kennedy. These people, they're triggered into this. They're activated sleepers.
It's like Zoolander.
Relax.
Yes. Just like that.
I don't remember what his trigger. Oh, I think it was Relax. The song.
That was it was the song.
That was his trigger.
And that's the thing is, while it's a funny movie, just like Hot Fuzz was a funny movie, they're still telling you the same truth about what they're doing to people and what the reason is behind it.
Okay, so I finally got down here to the meat and potatoes of this. This guy here says, I witnessed someone unconscious struggling to get him out, like his friends were trying to get him out and just people weren't carrying enough to make a path. I'm a 400-pound guy. I jumped in because that's my instinct, and I just made a path for him. Another attendee in front. There was a lot of jumping. If you didn't jump, you would fall and get trampled on. Definitely the crowd is pushing back and forth. If you were even a little tired, you were going to fall. Another guy says here, numerous users posted social media video of the festival goers attempting to stop the concert, including chants of stop the show, as well as fans who climbed to the riser where the cameras were to plead with the cameramen to communicate the need to pause the concert. Those pleas were either ignored or in one video mocked. Another video emerged of Scott witnessing at least one unconscious fan being carried out of the arena near the side of the stage. At one point during the concert, Scott looked into the crowd and stopped his music. Somebody needs help. Somebody passed out right here, he said in a video. Can somebody help jump in real quick? Come on. However, soon after the concert continued. Well, that's the first time I've heard of him saying anything because I never saw him say anything encouraging. Earlier in the day, video captured the crowd creating a stampede-like environment when hundreds of people attempted to rush through the VIP security checkpoint at the entrance of the festival. Yeah, I'll show you the picture of the entrance here in a minute. Held outside Houston's Energy Park, trampling energy. It's literally energy harvesting occurring at a place called Energy Park. Trampling others in front of them. Some were detained and arrested. But many flooded into the crowd, which reportedly had at least 50,000 people. We do not know that we had people jump the fence, they said. And everybody that attended this had to be vaxxed, by the way. They had to be jabbed, every single one of them, or you had to have a negative test to get in. So I'm starting to wonder, too, if this didn't have something to do with another thing called the 808 frequency, which we'll talk about in a second. So people were being stricken with panic and such, right? So this is not something I know a lot about, but I do remember that there were some experiments done back in the day by like a Japanese scientist, I think, where he, was able to freeze water after exposing it to certain sound frequencies like words, thoughts, intentions, things like that, which you wouldn't think would have any effect on it, right? Well, water has a memory, apparently, and it can hold things. Just remember this every time you talk to somebody. They retain what you said, even if they forgot what you said. But when they would freeze the water, depending on what kind of music they had been playing, it would create different shaped ice crystals, with like rock music, heavy metal being the most aggravated looking and distorted, symphonic music being the most clear and precise, and so on and so forth. So anyway, that kind of premise applies here, I think, where they're using this 808 frequency. I saw a video about Kanye West talking about this and how he said rap music used to have a lot lighter beats, but now it's just this heavy, bass. And I didn't quite understand what he was talking about, but I'm starting to understand now. Aaron, you mentioned that this is actually a frequency.
It's a bass frequency. So when you mentioned it, it had been a while, but when I started changing my likes and dislikes for music, which is sad to me because there's so many Christians that will listen to garbage and they think it's okay, and they think I'm just sensitive. They think, well, Aaron's just sensitive to lyrics, and I'm like, I'm sensitive to the frequencies too. I can't stand some of the sounds. So when I was first transitioning into my only Christian music, at first I was into even like what I would call secular Christians, because they're still under the same labels as these big Christian artists. They may not know it, but they probably do, but they're still under these major secular labels because all the Christian labels are owned by the major secular ones. And I remember that there was a song by one of them called 808, and I didn't know what it was, and I looked into it, and then so as soon as you said it, I remembered, oh yeah, this is a bass frequency. It's probably like that rolling bass that I remember when, oh gosh, what were those guys called? They were British, like punk. No, not punk. Oh gosh, I'm not even going to think of it. And they did this song, give me just a second, I'm going to think of it. They did a song called Firestarter. They had this
Prodigy?
The Prodigy. They had this insane bass. Because when I would listen to them, I was in my 20s.
You listened to Prodigy?
Oh gosh, yes. But I was in my 20s, and I lived in Seattle, and I had a boyfriend that was all about bass, and it was this rolling, insane bass that you could hear for blocks. And that's so anyway, all that to say, you mentioned that Kanye West was kind of sort of being a truther. We all got to take him with a grain of salt, because didn't you see in that article he had an album called 808 and what was it called?
I know.
808 and the 808s and the Heartbreaks.
Oh yeah, that's what it was called. I got another picture. I'm going to share some of the pictures here of the event. So right before panic broke out, the portal opened. Kylie posted this as a video. So on stage, they had what looked like a portal. Some people were showing how it resembles some artwork. Let me see if I can get it. Oh yeah, I think this might be the exit, actually, because the entrance showed it was like a golden version of his head was the entrance. So maybe this was an entrance also, or perhaps this was the exit. But here's the artwork that it is mimicking. And it's titled Christ in Limbo, which I hadn't had time to look up. So let's just take a gander at that real quick. Christ in Limbo art. And it might give us a glimpse, because remember, we're dealing with Rodin's Gates to Hell. That one guy, the Lanas dude, he had artwork, old artwork on his shoebox also. So I don't think it's these folks. Probably their handlers. Somebody's got them using this old stuff. I wonder if they even know what it means, what it's referring to. And little Nas had on his shoe, Luke 10:18 I saw Satan falls a bolt of lightning, I think it says. So this is what came up for that, although this doesn't look to be, maybe it's part of a bigger piece. But anyway, this is what I was able to find.
Hubo Jones reminds us that they would beat loud drums at the Moloch ritual so that they couldn't hear the children.
Oh, are you kidding me? Well, okay. Yeah, because there were people literally screaming in the crowd, and he had these. I don't think I got the. Forgive me, I'm looking for the pictures here.
I got a few more to share. There's one where I'll just share this one because it's what I got. So the portal at one point, this is like a mountain. And we got these rings here, the concentric rings.
Right, it looks like a big speaker.
Oh, it does. Thank you. I didn't realize that. See ya on the other side, it says. So it's almost implying like he expected people to die at this concert. Now, what were they going to do with those people, those poor souls that they're capturing? Here's some more imagery of the tunnel, the portal here. I didn't have time to crop these out. Sorry, they're not more professional looking. But anyway, this was a phoenix flapping its wings, a fiery phoenix. Kind of looks like a skull right here, actually. But anyway, this was a phoenix flapping its wings over top of the portal that they then say, see you on the other side. And so there was a phoenix at the top here flapping its wings at the start of the show. And then, boom, everything starts. And then the shirt he's wearing during the performance, even, he's got, here, let me zoom in a little bit. Oop. So it's got like bodies that are not animated getting up, and then they have horns walking through this like pane of glass or a portal being animated. It's like an animation process taking place. Kind of weird. But this person here claims that the shirt he was wearing while performing literally shows demons walking through a dimensional gate. And she's right, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, he has enough money, I'm sure he could wear anything.
Oh, Emily points out, sorry, I gotta tell you, Emily points out there are 6 rings on that speaker, too. 6, of course.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3.
Well, that's what she counted, I don't know. Maybe she means the red ones?
Well,
I don't know.
I'm sure it was intended. And, oh yeah, I got another one here. Yeah, here's the last one. And here's a picture of him with Bill Clinton. Having a good old time.
What on earth? Like, why? He's just, I'm just here for a concert and I'm barely alive because the adrenochrome is running short.
He wasn't one of them, huh? So, yeah, what's he doing there, huh?
It's a surrogate. I just watched the movie Surrogates and now I'm like, it's a surrogate. It's just an AI android of him. I don't know.
Well, he's about to die from what I've seen in the news, so I'm surprised he went to this concert. I mean, he could probably have been pushed over and taken out.
About to die means nothing. They can go anywhere they want to anytime.
He's wearing a Hillary, Let's Go Forward or whatever, Build Back Better. I don't know what they call it now.
But yeah, so right there, I mean, it doesn't. He's got a lot of platinum hanging on his neck there. But you know, this is who he was performing, and he's with this dude, so we all know what they're up to naturally. So ye shall know them by their fruits has never been truer than it is now. But anyway, whether that's titled Christ in Limbo or not, this is the piece of art that it's modeled after, and this is basically what you'd refer to as a hell mouth or a portal to hell. So I'd say with what Kylie Jenner was doing and what he was doing, doesn't leave a whole lot to the imagination. It seems pretty overt. I mean, have people ever been, I guess there have been examples of ritualistic murder and stuff, but I don't know. It just seems at some point they'd be giving themselves away totally, you know?
It's like what you and I said earlier, why I'm making this production and why I said it's my last one. Because a friend of mine had said, why is it your last production? I said, because there's nothing else to decode or break down anymore. It's so obvious. It's in our faces. And it's fun. Like, you know, a few people here like Johnny and Jay Vela from Canary Cry, we're all fans of listening to those guys go over a lot of news talk. And it can be entertaining. because that's where we got to be. If we're scared of it, or it's hurting our frequencies, let's say, then we shouldn't be looking at it. But it can be entertaining to look at this stuff, but there is nothing to break down anymore. It's so obvious.
Well, and they know, I mean, even in the word, it says it's going to get much, much worse. So, I mean, we can't expect it to stop. And you're right, it's getting so overt. I don't think they feel like they have to hide it anymore. You know, again, the fruit of the whole tree is arrogance, the pride. So, you know, people like to say the symbolism will be their downfall. Well, that could very well be the case. I mean, after all, they're not even really hiding it now. Kesha is another good example. Her stuff is overtly satanic. And then, you know, just taking a look here, you mentioned Kanye in the 808 Heartbreak Kid. A lot of these artists I do recognize, very, very popular. So it's kind of interesting that this 808 drum machine is affiliated with so many successful groups. Kind of makes you wonder if it's like the secret sauce. You want to subliminally manipulate your fan base? Get the 808 drum kit. Who knows? But anyway, that was just something that came to mind because I heard Kanye talking about how it was being used to do things that were not as natural. Oh yeah, and then I guess if you wanted, I was going to share a couple videos. I didn't want to play any of these because it could be a copyright thing, but here are a few. I want to see his crocodile tears. But
by the way, I think this was in Houston, and there was a funny story that Q people thought that JFK Jr. was coming back to life and was going to present himself in Dallas just a couple days ago too. And then when he didn't, they thought he was going to come to the Rolling Stones concert. So I don't know. There's something related there because sadly people still think all of that is true, and they were disappointed when he didn't show up and change their venue, and very odd, similar timing.
Yeah. And if he did come back to life, I'd question it with this stuff going on at the same time. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to, yeah. Anyway, here's, apparently he done a video called Stargazing and uses the golden head, which was also present at the concert. I just didn't grab the picture of it. But as you entered into the concert, you had to pass through his mouth. So again, it was like modeled after that that painting that I showed you guys earlier. So, you know, if he doesn't know what he's doing, that's grossly irresponsible to let whoever's designing this stuff do that. I mean, how can you take such a lack of interest in your art? You know, so it almost suggests that he's aware of what I mean, after all, they're using his head, so you'd think he would have okayed that, you know. So, and if your fan base are actually children, I mean, after all, he's got children depicted here in this Sicko Mode song that he's promoting here. That's just like an amusement park where you enter in through his mouth. So you can see where this is very Moloch-ish in many ways. But anyway, there's a few videos if you want to watch them. But man, there was people just stampeding and going crazy. It was quite a thing. So anyway, makes you wonder if it was some lunatic running around injecting people with drugs. You know, what was going on there? You know, like what was really happening? Was there a ritual? And then I guess there was a twin concert in another city that got canceled also, and they said it was because the speakers blew out. So it made me wonder if there was some type of connection to the, you know, because if you look at the lyrics that he was singing in the song, like he's basically issuing these verbal commands to die, to stop breathing, you know, like these lyrics are trash anyway, but you got him repeating them over and over and everybody's screaming it. So like, I mean,
I don't know. I've been to a concert many years ago, and even then I could feel the electricity on the crowd. And it made me realize then, I was like, wow, this is creepy. Like I've never felt like anything like that before. And it was like a blanket of energy that rode on top of the crowd. So, I mean, I can only imagine with 50,000 people there, like what was really going on. So when you consider like, everybody had to be juiced to be there, just kind of made me wonder, about the relationship it could have with frequencies. It would just been nice to know more details, I guess. Maybe we'll never know. I guess it would be kind of ironic if their deaths still got ruled due to
the COVID. I will mention too that someone just as scary is out there with just as big of numbers at concerts, and her name is Billie Eilish, and she's absolutely demonic, and it couldn't be more obvious. And yet, little girls scream at her shows, and I'm brought to tears. I'm not exaggerating when I see that, because I have 2 girls, and they're not going to ever listen to her music, because by the time they're older and can make their choices, she'll be long gone probably. But even if she pulls a Madonna or something, at least I gave them a foundation of what demonic looks like, because when I grew up, my parents were atheists, and I didn't know what any of that looked like, and I would have laughed this stuff off. Oh, demonic. Oh, I laughed that stuff off because my parents laughed it off too. I'm so grateful. Praise the Most High that I know different now, and at least I can give my children a foundation that is so far different from anything that I was given. And God bless my parents, because they love the Lord now, but they didn't know that. They brought us up totally as atheists. Anyway, and then I had siblings with a different dad, but same mom, who were brought up Mormon. So what a mess our family is. But this stuff is somebody was mentioning going back to older music. It is nothing new. They've been super demonic for decades. But I guess now it's maybe not now. Maybe it's just as obvious now as it was then. We just didn't see it, or I just didn't see it, or I don't know. I could go on.
Well, it's always been there. The spirits, they rule dominions and principalities. Like every country is basically governed by a spirit, essentially, because the one that governs Israel is Yahweh. And he often would talk about the Goyim, as it were, the nations, and all the gods they served were basically fallen angels and false idols. So these things have been around for a long, long time. It's just that they've worn thousands of masks. They have thousands of names. We don't really recognize them today. But that's the whole importance of going by the fruit, because we can know them by their fruits. They might have a different name now and a slightly different style in some way, but they still like to go after the children and blaspheme God. And, as far as these rituals are concerned, I mean, if you did enough, it seems like a Moloch type thing, right? So I'm sure if you did enough research, you'd probably come to some conclusion as to what entity they're really in league with. But yeah, so I'd say the gates of hell, as it were, are kind of open in Rome, and we might see some more rituals that are maybe designed to feed into it or off of it. I don't know which way it goes, but definitely stay away from stuff like this. If it seems like an energy harvesting thing. Oh yeah, and the fact that these guys all release shoes, so their souls, and the one dude was putting blood and ink in the sole of his shoe. So they know what they're doing. I think all the souls that were there, all the shoes, which his shoe got stolen. So that's his soul got stolen while he was crowd surfing. Didn't put that one together earlier. Anyway, that's all I had for this evening. I didn't have a lot of time to put everything together, so forgive me for it being a little disjointed or me kind of stumbling a little bit here and there, but I'll have everything.
The positive part of this is that when we're under 2 hours, it will go over to Odyssey. When we're not under 2 hours, it does not go over to Odyssey.
Oh,
so I have not downloaded and re-uploaded any Solomon reports on Odyssey, and I am sorry to admit it, but I have not done any. So there's very few Solomon reports on Odyssey, but tonight, this one will be.
Well, I'll do my best to keep them at 2 hours and try to plan them for that too, and just to help you out a little bit, because I don't ever necessarily intend to go through 3 or 4 hours. It just kind of happens sometimes. So, but
I like to give you the platform because I'll tell you guys, if you don't know, NPC came to me now over a year ago and wanted to use this platform, and I'm honored. I'm honored that you would use this platform to witness your knowledge. What a blessing.
I just felt like I had to share it. Like I told you earlier, I would have been writing on the walls at this point if I didn't share it, because I just felt like I had to get this stuff out there. I got notes all over the place. There's so much stuff I haven't even talked about. So maybe when I have time to sit and review some of this stuff, we can do some more short things that can be uploaded, I guess. But there's just so much going on. It's hard to keep up. I feel like if we miss a week, we've missed a month.
Yeah, it because the news is rushing in fast. So, all right, I think I heard someone fall and get hurt over here, so I imagine I'm going to be needed any second.
Well, it was a pleasure as always, and I appreciate the time of everybody listening as well. Thank you for being here. And you close us out in prayer, perhaps?
Yeah, I will.
You got enough time?
Hang on just a second.
Yeah, we got a few minutes. Cool.
Yep. All right. Abba Father, thank you so much for bringing this knowledge to us, bringing the truth. We pray for truth, wisdom, and discernment to grow in our lives every single day and to come from you, Most High, and our Savior, Jesus Christ, and that we know that our salvation is in you. And we are just not able to understand what that truly means, but in this life, on this side of heaven, I pray that we would live out your purpose as you would want to see us living it out. And I hope that we are reaching at least one or more people with this message, and that when we do, that maybe a life will be saved, because as it says in the book of Jude, that we are to persevere, having compassion and pulling people from the fire away from the flesh, that we need to persevere with patience and understanding. And while it's hard for me sometimes to feel sorry for people who would even want to be a part of these rituals, whether they know it or not, they still deserve salvation if they're willing to have ears to hear and eyes to see. So let us not stop reaching out. Let us not stop putting our hands out, pulling people from the fire. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. I like that brand from the fire. Reminds me of Hosea 4:6 too, because my people are perished for their ignorance, or they lack knowledge, something to that effect.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, Aaron.
Thank you, and we'll see you next week for sure. Peace.
Yeah.
I don't deny there's some strange evolutionary process going on, but mankind won't understand the fact that you and I are working here today.
Check it.
Is evidence of that.
I got this type wifey with a real tight body. She's the real chicken from my side. The guy got me, give me strength when I'm feeling weak. She picked me up, lift my spirits to the highest peak. Sweet buttercup, that's what's up. Always got my back, right by my side. Shotgun passenger when we go for a ride. That's my bride to be, treat her like Christ treat me. I can see easily that she complete me. That's how it be. This girl is like Proverbs 31. Carry your gun, let's go and shoot at targets for fun. God is number one, but I'm number two on the list. Feels like I'm on cloud nine whenever we kiss. I reminisce, I never felt love like this. Try to do it on my own, but I always miss. But this is it, God has sent the one for me. Bless me with a wife and 2 kids, a family. I know I'm tired of being alone, alone. Being home all on my own, I pray that he will send to me someone that is just like me. I'm glad to meet Shamaya Apocalypse. You're the heartbeat that's beating fast. that's inside of me. The one I need right by my side to get through prophecy. Ain't no stopping me, you bringing out the best in me. You and I together, it's a real good recipe. And you can see the whole world is changing rapidly. Teach the word of God together, all for his glory. True love story, me and you, we live our life for Christ. Believe in him because he was the perfect sacrifice. You don't think twice about it, you always on your grind. You're quick to tell me that you love me and I'm on your mind. And I'm so thankful that the Lord has sent you past my way. I love it when we talk all day and in the end we finally pray. It's on my brain you stay, without you there is emptiness. The day I met you is the day that I will not forget. We see eye to eye, real love, we keep each other in check. Sharp like ninja swords, apocalypse of much respect. I know I'm tired